Thanks for tuning in today. We've got an awesome conversation with Pastor Scott Morgan. He's got such a wide range of experience as a large church pastor, a coffee shop owner, and now he transforms that coffee shop into a church every single Sunday. And he's going to share his story with us of being a business on mission, what he's learned, the high points, low points, some tips and tricks to doing it all. You're in for a treat, so here we go. All right, well, today I'm here with Scott Morgan, pastor, barista, coffee maker, husband, father. You've been running this coffee ministry house. I mean, I'm not saying any of the right words, but how long have you been running this space now?
So we've had Sozo Coffee for 15 years.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Which means I have a lot of espresso pumping through my veins.
Okay, so you have a coffee house.
Yes.
And tell us about how this coffee house transforms on the weekend.
So 15 years ago, we were tired of buying coffee elsewhere. I pulled out a bank statement, showed my wife, and said, we can own our own coffee house. So with that, it started out as a joke, but turned into something that started gaining some speed and combining the coffee house with our call to ministry. We felt like this could be a fun, unique venture for us. So coffee house Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. So a lot of coffee, a lot of customers, a lot of different vibes and environments throughout the day and throughout the week. On the weekends, we do live music. We host poetry nights, open mic nights. We work with local schools that do recitals, band concerts, jazz concerts. Sundays we're closed, and we do 2 church worship gatherings here.
Yeah.
On in the mornings, we rent out the space in the afternoons, and then at night we host a youth group here. So it's constantly a flurry of activities going on here.
Yeah. And that's amazing. And I know I've been coming here for 5 years now, ever since I moved back to Arizona.
I was going to say, 5 years. Seems longer than that, but yeah.
That's because of our kindred.
That's right.
We're from other spirits, brothers from other mothers. But I think it's amazing. And I do a lot of meetings here. So I see a lot of people here. People always say, they always are like, this feels so good.
Yeah.
And they look around the room and there's always people meeting and relationships happening. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing space.
I agree.
Yeah. One part of your story that I've always thought was really interesting is, can you share a little bit about, because you, for those listening, those tuning in, you did kind of the traditional, I'm going to say traditional pastoral thing, had a big congregation, 1,000 members. Is that true?
Close to.
Yeah. So let's say around 1,000 members, and you've ended up here, and you and I've talked a lot about that, but can you share it all? You did it that way for a long time. Pros, cons, differences, like what did you learn and how did that feel? And yeah.
Well, I did college ministry for 10 years and then was called to church planting. So I took some of those college students who are young and eager and zealous and inexperienced, which you can also work as an advantage. And we all just kind of jumped headlong into planting a church. Having never done it before, you're just kind of going off the cues and encouragement of people who have done kind of your big box church, where oftentimes the scorecard are the ABCs: attendance, buildings, cash. This is what we strive after. This is how we measure, success. And we did that for 8 years, and it was fun. We saw people come to know Jesus. We saw people recommit their lives to the Lord. We saw marriages healed. We saw families reconciled. It was truly this just exciting, vibrant, fast, accelerated work of the Spirit. But it grew so rapidly and so fast that one of the things that we did not do well was think about what God was doing beyond the four walls of the church. So we had become so insular and so focused on programs and ministry maintenance and quote unquote membership health. And we really lost the pulse of what it meant to be the church beyond Sunday morning or the four walls. And so that really started to brew this discontent within my spirit. And so I think that was one of those things that, having never done before, getting caught up in the excitement, all great things, except for what did it look like to really equip and mobilize the saints for ministry, to have a heart for their coworkers, their neighbors, their workplaces, their schools. And so that's why I think what we're doing now, scratches that itch. Yeah. And I think brings something different to the table. And by different, I totally mean a whole lot harder when it comes to a culture that is so sometimes focused on Sunday morning, program and attractional. And I didn't realize the extent of how immersed our culture is into that model of church planting and ministry, and how something like what we're trying to do via a missional business, and encouraging people to live as God's priests, pastors, clergy beyond this place is such an uphill battle. Yeah. And so I don't know if that's anywhere near what you're asking, but that's a little bit of the history and maybe some of the tension that happened in that ministry, which kind of led us to this place. Yep. So that's, I think, one of those major kind of storyline pillars.
I know I've asked you this before, but could you share, would you still say that you are as happy in ministry as you've ever been?
Dude, it's funny you should say that, because my wife and I were sharing with a group just this weekend that I am perhaps more joyful and content in ministry than I've ever been. No. And I think telling myself 10 years ago what I know now, or 20 years ago what I know now, your contentment is not in some sort of measurable result or goal. Yeah. Numbers, money, whatever the scorecard may be, but it's a sense of just being where God has you, connected with your giftings, connected with your talents, and just being in a place where it's like you just know you're doing what God's called you to do. Yeah. I can't help but think of Chariots of Fire, Eric Little, the runner, who was torn between being a missionary to China and running in the Olympics. And, when he's having that conversation with his sister, and he's like, you know what? God made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. And I love that, right? God has made us a certain way. And when you're in that lane, you're like, I don't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. That's going to be a really encouraging word for people who are listening, to that, almost the permission that, hey, it's okay for you to actually enjoy what you're doing because God's in all of it. Yeah. And in your story, it was like you and your wife were like, hey, we really like coffee. Yeah. Should we do something about that? Totally. But also you have such a vibrant ministry here. And again, we've even talked about people that come in here and prayed for them and seen them get engaged in church and fellowship. Yeah. And it's really, really cool.
Yeah. I think the human connection, the relational connection with all different types of people is something that I never had considered would be so rich and rewarding, that we get to meet hundreds of people throughout the week that come through our doors. And they're coming from all different backgrounds and experiences and faiths and spiritualities. And we get to be somehow the presence of Jesus to them. And you just never know what's going to come as a result of those interactions with people. Yeah.
I get to see it.
I know you do.
It's so cool. Actually, one of the things that you guys do that I love so much is when vendors come by, they always get whatever drink they want.
Yeah.
Not, I guess not always, but a lot of them do. I guess maybe they don't know, but yeah, it's like what a tangible way to be generous, like God is generous with us.
Yeah.
These vendors who are just literally just doing deliveries. It's hot. I mean, we live in Phoenix. It's blazing right now. And they might get a cool iced coffee. And it's almost like an extension of saying like, hey, you matter and we appreciate you. Here's a whatever.
Yeah.
Iced mocha.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day.
Totally.
It's so cool.
Yeah. In 15 years, we have not made any bit of a profit until probably 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We started with the objective, and we want to continue with the objective of, if we lose money, that's okay. Not preferable, but it's okay because of the real life, authentic relational connection we're able to have with people. And whether they be our own staff, whether they be vendors, whether they be just the first timer that comes in, for me, that is money well spent.
We love it. So I love it. So that means, if we're all hearing you right, this means that you are running a coffee shop and you're pastoring. I know you're married. I know you're a dad. So how do you?
I do my own stunts.
You do, yeah. No doubles.
No doubles. Yeah.
But how do you? Is there anything you're doing right now that is really good for you? Like, how do you manage like your time of Sabbath? How do you get rest? How do you refill your cup? Like, what encouragement could you give to someone who's listening, who's going like, yeah, this sounds great, but this is so much work.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. My week has deliberate and purposeful rhythms in it. And so, and you can give me a day and a time, and I can tell you what I'm going to be doing on that at that time on that day, barring some sort of interruption or emergency or whatever. But, Monday is my Sabbath day. And so I guard that. I usually start with a mountain bike ride. So I've interrupted my Sabbath day to meet with you, but this is restful and this is relaxing and refreshing. But I was on the trail this morning at 5:30. And so I do 2-3 mountain bike rides a week. So that keeps me grounded. It's just me. I don't listen to anything. It's me praying. It's me talking. It's me meditating and enjoying God's creation. I've also mentioned, the fact that I have espresso constantly in my veins. So I make sure there's at least 10 to 12 ounces of espresso always flowing through me. So that helps.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of it, so there's the personal Sabbath, which for me is Monday, but there's also regular date nights with my wife. And so I think that's a huge thing so Monday nights is date night. And so I get to kind of complete my Sabbath time by sharing that time with my spouse. And we make it a point not to talk about ministry or business. We could talk about that stuff and elsewhere, but we make it a time to talk about how are we doing as a husband and wife? How are we doing as a father and a mother? Things that we can be praying for, things that we can be thinking about when it comes to the week ahead. And so Mondays for me is a great day to just reset coming off of a busy weekend, praying for a busy week. So Mondays is really a highly guarded day where I do things other than, church related things or even business related things. So,
you might not remember when this happened, but can you pinpoint in your ministry journey when you realized that you had to have that type of rhythm?
Yeah, I think it was probably 10 years ago.
Okay.
I would go and somehow justify busyness. And I think part of it too was my lack or inability or just not even preparing to train up others to do work and take jobs or have responsibilities that I was doing that I didn't need to be doing. So I think I think that goes right in line with our philosophy of equipping and mobilizing the saints for ministry and just trusting people to do work, whether it be at the coffee house or whether it be at the church, things that I can just give away and that people are really eager to jump in and help with or serve in. And so that's huge, right? That all the ministry does not rest in my abilities and my talents and me doing everything. Oh. And so really freeing people up to sharing that load. And so that helps me take that rest and to take vacations with my family. I mean, I'm able to leave.
You guys vacation well.
Well, thank you. I have a wife who's a teacher, so she needs those breaks. And not just to not go to school, but she's like, you take me away because we need to go to the beach or we need to do something in some tropical location. And our kids are a part of that as well. And so what we've worked into their lives and experiences growing up is regular rhythms of rest with one another is so critical and so important. Because as a business owner, I know people who have owned their own businesses for years and have never taken a vacation.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I said, I don't want to be in that camp. And so we do 2 to 3 vacations a year, and we have a rhythm of this. And I plan months ahead because we need that rest, but also too, to be able to leave the business or the ministry in capable hands. That we don't need to be there to run everything and oversee everything because we've raised up people who are competent and can do this. So that's huge.
Yeah, I think that could be a whole nother hour-long conversation. But I wanted to highlight, because I think it's so true, and I'd be curious if you've had this experience too, but what you just said was, you've been in ministry for 20, 30 years.
Dude, I'm coming up on 40 years.
That's amazing.
I mean, but I don't look a day over 30, 32, right?
That's not much.
Yeah, almost 40 years.
So almost 40 years, and I know you were really honest with us, but 8 to 10 years ago, you would say, I really embraced Sabbath and rest.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably a very accurate, I think most ministers.
Yeah.
So, but again, that feels like a whole other conversation about why do we resist that? And, why is that so hard for us? And, but you said it really well. Like, if this whole thing was dependent upon you, it can literally only go so far.
Totally.
Reminds me of, wasn't it Jethro? Was this his father-in-law?
Yeah.
Who showed up and was like, Moses, what are you doing?
What do you think? You had a line out the door, right?
People wanted to open you. Yeah. And I wonder if that same type of question could be asked of somebody of us. But
yeah, we're going through Exodus on Sunday mornings, and I threw up an org chart of Israel, and it probably had 60, 70 jobs, and then who was responsible for those jobs, and Moses' name was in every box.
That's a problem.
Right? And that's a problem. And Jethro, his father-in-law, recognized this and said, you are going to kill yourself. You need to raise up others. And granted, there are some things that only I can do, but there's so much that I can equip others to take responsibility for. And there's something freeing about that. There's something freeing about other people that could address a specific subject or topic much more effectively and efficiently than me. I mean, I used to play guitar in the band until more competent guitarists came up. And there are still people like, I miss your guitar playing, which totally feeds your ego and go like, when do you want me to play again? And like, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, I picked up a guitar the other day and some guy's like, you should play more. I'm like, no, I'm not going to, because I need to focus my energies on the things that only I can do. I have 8 other people that can play guitar. So
that's so fun. You threw up an org chart.
Just
Moses.
Here's Israel's dysfunction, right? With having one guy who was the core of their existence. And it's like, no, this shouldn't be this way.
I want to see that at the next leadership conference.
Yeah, right.
Don't do this.
Yeah. Good luck.
Would you put yourself in the business as mission category, or would you put yourself in the, I feel like there's a lot of categories, and I feel like even when you and I are at different events, people are trying to get you into a category. how would you self-categorize, or what do you feel like it is you guys do?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good ways to kind of summarize this idea of a missional business. And probably the most popular one is business as mission. And I've changed just the middle word to business on mission.
Love it.
So while we are a for-profit entity as a business and I pastor a nonprofit entity as a church, you know, how do we somehow exist as a mission, as a business, but communicate this ongoing, never-ending work but we're continually on mission versus as mission, right? Because the church and the coffee house are distinct from each other, but in a lot of ways they work hand in hand with each other. And so I'm actually working on my dissertation now, which people can pray for me to finish because I've been working on this thing for 25 years. So I think I might hold the record for the longest dissertation project ever in human history. So, but business on mission is kind of the angle I would say best describes us. So as the owner, as the manager, as the one that hires and fires people, right? I'm the one that's just kind of keeping the objective in front of us and not just to serve great coffee, tea, and other products, but the larger vision is to engage a community and culture that would probably never step foot in a church, but they're going to step foot here and meet me and perhaps other believers and have that new, fresh, maybe different engagement with the kingdom. Yeah. And so we're always going to realize why we're here and what we're called to do. Yeah. That goes way beyond serving great coffee.
There you go.
So business on mission.
Business on mission. Cool. And so how could you give some of that 15 years, 40 years of knowledge away? So I'm thinking about doing that, let's say, coffee shop, bike shop, laundromat, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So maybe what are some quick from the hip things that you've experienced that you would say, do it this way?
Yeah. There's a biblical foundation for why we do what we do when it comes to work and work and worship being more intertwined than I think we realize. So I think there needs to be an understanding of the word, right? And that you have throughout scripture men and women used by God in their vocations.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got shepherds, you've got tax collectors. Jesus himself learned carpentry. Paul himself was a tent maker. So you see less this central church-based kind of vocation where you go to the church, you're in the church office dealing with church people behind a church, right? And there's people that are being used by God in their fields of interest, experience, their vocations. So I think there's a biblical and a theological drive to now do our work heartily as unto the Lord, to use our work as a means to showcase God is a creative God, but he's also a God of excellence. And so before we even proceed to talk about the gospel or the kingdom, you almost need to earn that right by creating through your business and the product you're offering this level of excellence and quality, and because we're reflecting a God that we say we believe in, right, trust in, and we adore. And so I think when I meet customers here and they're like, this is one of the best lattes I've ever had, or I really love the environment you created, that only says to me, man, they're being warmed up to have a conversation with someone who's not only taking their work with excellence as far as our approach, but why we do what we do, which just provides this great segue into talking about faith, or our connection with the Creator. Sozo, the name of the coffee house, right, which is Greek word for to save, to rescue, to make whole, right? So we want to reflect the characteristics and qualities of God which I think in our workplace, which I think is missing in a lot of workplace environments, or even as employers or employees in the business world.
Right.
So I don't know if that was,
if I'm hearing you right, so this I think actually ties back into doing something you actually care about.
Yeah.
Because you're probably going to do that excellently.
Yeah.
So part of what you're saying is think about what you care about.
Yeah.
Think about what you like to do.
Yep.
Because I'm going to put words in your mouth, but you need to do it excellently, because if you're going to do business on mission, you're reflecting the kingdom.
Yep.
So don't do it halfway.
Yeah. I think about that passage in Matthew 5 where Jesus is saying, "You're salt, you're light, and the world will see your good works and somehow glorify your God in heaven."
Yeah.
Right? If I'm reading that correctly, somehow they think your presence, whether they agree with you on any other kind of issue, is irrelevant.
Yeah.
But the fact that they see you, acknowledge something about you, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like the presence of believers it's easy to be a believer in church.
Right.
Right. It's easy to be like, hey, we're all on the same track. But to be a believer and to somehow have a reputation or be respected outside of church is an amazing thing.
Right.
Right. And I want to capitalize on those relationships in the sense of I'm able to daily have connections with people that I get to witness to, not just through proclamation, but through demonstration.
Okay.
Right? The beauty and this core essence and excellence of our salvation and our connection with God. Right? So,
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that's so good.
Yeah. Might be a bit esoteric or metaphysical for some people, but
yeah. I don't even know what those words mean.
Yeah.
You mentioned kind of funny, but you haven't really seen a prophet. And so I think
up till about 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
And then it just barely moved the needle a little bit. So,
but I think that highlights something like what it goes back to, like, what are you really after?
Yeah.
As business on mission. Yeah. And what's my real goal here?
Yeah.
So I guess that might be another point is like, well, do you want like material profit, or are you looking for kingdom profit?
Mm-hmm.
And that might help a person decide, like I said, a laundromat, a bike shop, coffee house, even owning an apartment complex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's my motive here, and what's my drive? So,
I think one of the things I've always kind of come back to in who I am, my calling is not to be a business owner.
Yeah.
My calling is not to own or manage a coffee house. I love it. I love coffee. I love music. I love connection with people. My calling is to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And so somehow I get to exercise that calling by being a pastor through this business, right? Which kind of scratches a couple different itches and is really kind of a double fulfillment in a way. So I not only get to pastor a church community, but I almost get to pastor a coffee culture that may not feel like they're being pastored, but we're loving on them and we're accepting them and we're engaging them. And so I think that's a cool. So my calling at the end of the day is to be a pastor. I want to see people come to know Jesus and grow in their Christ-likeness. And so I think that helps with the larger objective, because if my calling was to be a business owner and I'm looking at the numbers, my day-to-day, week-to-week emotions are going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Right.
That's, I think, the point that I'm kind of poking at.
Yeah.
Is because you're right. If it's about bottom line, we ran out of milk. We're not selling enough burritos. You guys can't be giving away free coffees to the delivery drivers.
Right.
Like, you're going to have a problem.
Yep.
So really dialing in, what is your mission?
Yeah.
Like, what is the purpose of your business?
Yeah. I mean, that's something we see at a ministry context, but not necessarily in a business context, is salvation's free, but ministry costs money.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the same kind of attitude as the owner carries over into the coffee house. I mean, I'm not against making a profit. I think there's a lot you can do with those extra resources. But at the end of the day, I'm realizing that if I give away some coffee in order to have a larger objective into somehow connecting with somebody, and that's a day-to-day, person-to-person basis, then I'm going to do that. And I'm not considering it a loss at all because of perhaps the deeper conversation or interaction I may have with that person.
Right. So 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. And you talked a bit about sharing the load. So doing it with others, not trying to carry it yourself.
Yeah. Equipping and mobilizing the saints, right? Which is Ephesians 4, which I tell you what, has probably been one of the most freeing passages of scripture for me in the past 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
And having not perfected it or even achieved it, but man, constantly coming back to it and having it be a reminder.
Yep.
And it's a good thing, right? Because I think it's always in flux. You're never going to arrive.
Right.
You're always, number one, you need to have that on your radar, equipping and mobilizing the work of, the saints for the work of ministry. But to have that be a scorecard every single day, every single week, like, okay, who can do this better than me?
Yeah.
Who can do this because I don't need to be doing that. And so, and it becomes, the more you give away, the more liberating it is.
Yep.
Because it is frustrating when you are pulled away from the things that you're wired by God to do.
Right.
And I get frustrated if I'm not serving out of my gifts, talents, strengths, abilities, whatever you want to call them. So give it away and own what God wants you to own. Yeah. And then, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. That's a lot of good practical nuggets. Yeah. Someone who's thinking about doing this kind of thing. When we've spent time together, you're pretty open to teaching people. So if someone was like, I've got to learn about this, are you open to having people come down to Chandler, Phoenix area and come into SoZo and showing them what you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I do that on a regular basis. Sometimes it looks like a 5-minute conversation, and sometimes it looks like an hour or two conversation. I've met with leaders from other churches who have come from California, Minnesota, where they're just curious about what we're doing. Because I think what they recognize, and I think this is so encouraging about the future of ministry, is this idea that there are many different types of works of ministry that can reach many different types of people.
Yes.
And we're just choosing this kind of business on mission philosophy of ministry to drive what we do. And, it may not appeal to everybody, may not be attractive to everybody, but I think we have to entertain different models of ministry nationally, internationally, that can see more people come and grow in Jesus, right? And so come to know Jesus, grow in Jesus. So, it's amazing what people are really interested in and intrigued by. But it's also interesting too when you get to know people, and we're not a church that has a coffee house,
right?
That's not us. There are churches that have little coffee shops inside their churches.
Yes,
good for them.
Yeah.
We are a coffee house that just happens to have a church that meets here on Sunday. So it's a little bit different of an approach, but it's a significant difference, And so I think you have to, whenever I meet with somebody, there are ways you kind of find out what's the true motive or agenda, right? I don't want someone kind of doing what we're doing and just add it on to all these other ministries they're already doing. This really requires a really singular and myopic approach to just doing something where you're all in. And
that's a good word.
It's out of the box. It's unorthodox, but it's fun.
So you're open to that. I have a laugh because I know a lot of people don't even know the name of your church.
Yeah.
They just go, oh, it's that coffee church.
Yeah. The coffee house church. Which I'm not opposed to. Yeah. Well, and maybe it's better than coffee house cult, which maybe we've been called a few times, but
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So the name of the coffee house, SoZo, coffee, which SoZo's word to say to rescue, make whole. People always ask, what does that mean? And there's some people who get it.
Yeah. That's why I came.
Yeah.
I saw the name and I was like, oh,
Somehow
they've got to be doing something.
Something connected to church or the scripture. And then there's people who are so far from Jesus, they don't even know. They hear it and they go, oh, we like that.
Yeah.
And then the name of the church is Missio Dei, which is Latin for God is on mission, which goes right in line with Ephesians 4, mobilizing and equipping the saints for the work on ministry. Because what we're recognizing is that God is still working in the world, not just on Sunday mornings, not just at church, but 24/7. And we want to participate with God on his mission.
Yeah.
And somehow have people understand that their Missio Dei can be wherever God takes them.
That's right.
And that's the amazing reality of what we get to do and point people to. So
I love that. As we wrap up.
Yeah.
So you're open to conversation. You're in Chandler. So if anyone's ever in the area, come on by. See Scott and the folks here at Sozo. Missio meets at 9, 10:30, or what's the time?
9 and 10:45 on Sundays.
10:45 on Sundays.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you were giving advice to someone who is thinking of doing something similar, some major points would be leadership structure, giving away, managing your own time, making sure you're doing something you love.
Yeah.
These things all seem kind of like, they seem obvious, but they're not as obvious.
Right.
So I think a lot of people would maybe think, oh, I would love to do a business on mission. But you make a great point about, but do something you actually care about.
Exactly.
So I think that
will be a lot less frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the thing is too, with business, it's usually a 2 to 5 year timeline when that business starts until they even maybe begin to see traction, profit, etc. And I think how that's so connected to discipleship. That if you're looking for results overnight, if you're looking for instantaneous reward on your investment, or you're going to be disappointed. And so what we have to realize, it is really this kind of long stretch, this long haul, right? Life is not sprint, it's a marathon. And how true is that with ministry? And I think that's another thing that we're able to kind of live in, is that the discipleship that happens indirectly or directly takes time.
Yeah.
Like I've had conversations with people who do not know Christ, and we've had spiritual conversations for 2 years. Right. And you get to feel where that person's at and where they're coming from. And there's times you kind of press the accelerator. There's times you back off. It's up to the Spirit. Right. And so I think that part of it too is just realizing there's got to be a greater objective than results and rewards, that the labor will eventually pay off, but it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Yep. If that makes sense. So
talking to you, you're such a deep well, because it's like you talk ministry, you talk business, you talk these different languages, which again is another piece of gifting that God's given to you, and the doors for you. So I love it. I can't wait to talk again.
Oh, dude.
For those listening, this is Scott Morgan, pastor, espresso maker. What's your favorite coffee drink?
Espresso swinger, right?
Yeah.
So my go-to is called the Scottacano. And it's 4 shots, 4-shot Americano in a 12-ounce cup. Okay. With a little splash of cream.
Okay.
That is
I used to call that the Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. That's my go-to every single morning.
Okay.
And then our signature latte, which I created probably 8 years ago, is our best seller. It's called a cinnamon toast latte. So it's all natural vanilla brown sugar, cinnamon, iced or hot. Oh man, people come from all over just to get that.
You have great chai.
Our chai is amazing.
Chai is very good.
Yep.
Pour overs.
We do pour overs.
So you don't do a standard drip. You do like pour over.
Yeah, that would be, we make it as you order it. So we do the pour over there. A lot of unique coffee drinks, no blenders, nothing crazy like that, but true cappuccinos, the pour over coffees, true cold brews, 24, 30-hour cold brews. So a lot of fun stuff.
So fun.
And great breakfast burritos and pastries, etc. But, again, all that stuff is a great kind of entry point. But then what people then begin to fall in love with is not just the product, but the people.
Oh, yeah.
the environment, the space. We can accommodate, 150 people in this space, but it doesn't feel like that. And there's plenty of room for people to spread out and talk and meet or be alone, right? And read and study it's fun. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. Love talking to you.
Thank you
for my time.
I love
Celebrate your Sabbath.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon.
I love it. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another pastor or ministry leader who you think might benefit from this conversation. And if you're looking for more tools and resources to help you preach and lead with confidence, be sure to check out sermoncentral.com/podcast. Sermon Central is the largest online resource hub for pastors and ministry leaders. From illustrations to outlines to media, you'll find everything you need to preach and lead effectively. So check out sermoncentral.com/podcast, where you'll even find a special podcast listener discount on our membership pricing. Check it out and stay tuned for our next episode.